Hey, Christy, are you able to hear me on that side? We're not getting any audio. There we go. You are unmuted, but oh, that's me though. Jackie unmuted us.
And I'm not going to volume on this, everything is good.
Just a couple times.
How's he?
They don't have sound. That's a good sound.
Yeah, the laptop doesn't have a microphone port.
Do you have a microphone port?
No, here it doesn't have a microphone port. I just turn on the audio for the laptop. Do they have? Can they hear us now? See, it's definitely picking it up. So I tell them to join that. Go to the top.
Join up at the top.
There's an audio call.
Audio.
It says on the left side. It says join audio call. It's on the top left of the bar.
Next to stop. Next to stop. What?
Yeah, our audio sounds good.
Can they hear us?
Yeah, I think we're muted.
Thank you for coming today. This is a meeting that referenced that the district was creating a series of meetings, 3 parts for tier 1 interventions. And this is the first part. This first part deals with some of the basics of behavior management / classroom management. The student behavior in classroom management begins in the classroom. For the most part, it can end in the classroom. And some of this, hopefully, will be things that you know and do. Some of this will validate what you already do. Some of it will spark a reminder of things that you used to do and you've gotten away from. But this is supposed to be at the ground level so that we all have a shared understanding of what behavior and classroom interventions and classroom management look like, so that when we build upon it for the second and third session and later for our tier 2 and tier 3 behavior needs, that you'll have that common understanding. I really want you to go back and at the end, think about, did you establish rules with your students? Are they posted? Are they posted so that students can see it, so that people entering your room understand and see them? Are they things that you repeat throughout your instruction, throughout the day? What is your incentive plan? Not just through consequences, but what are the incentives? And did the children take part in creating those incentives? What do you have to respond to those individual behaviors? What do you have to respond to those group, table, or pod behaviors? And what do you have in place to respond and support classroom behaviors? What are you doing day to day when you're walking from special to lunch? Are you requiring them to stand in a straight line, not silent, but quiet and orderly? One of the things, I heard about complaints about how they leave for dismissal, going to the gym. But one of the things I've observed is that when they're walking to and from special and to and from lunch, you just let them go. Well, if they're practicing it wrong 4 times a day, I guarantee you that 5th time at the end of the day when you're going home to their parents, they're going to do it wrong. So you really have to make sure that you're on top of their behavior and you do what you expect, and that old-fashioned, all right, let's go back to the classroom and start over because it looks like you don't know how to walk in the hall. Those are the things we need to do, be really, really consistent about what our behavior expectations are, and the fact that we're going to take nothing less but the behaviors that we expect, okay? So we're going to build upon it. At the end of the meeting, I'm also going to have another meeting scheduled this week. Today is
Tuesday the 29th.
So I have until the moratorium starts on the 2nd. So I'm gonna have to schedule a brief meeting. I'd like to have just a little time to chat with you, and when I talk to Cheryl and find out what's available, then I'll let you know the date, okay? So I wanna thank everyone for being here. Who put this together? Behavior specialists? Okay, I wanna thank the behavior specialist for creating this video for us. Thank Trina for being so instrumental, and Andrew for setting up the technology, okay? So, without further delay.
All right, thank you, Trina. Or, I'm sorry, thank you, Savannah.
Savannah.
Yes, I just heard you talk to Trina.
If I have problems today.
yes. Thanks. I'm Christy Johnson, most of you know me.
And I'm Stuart Hart. I'm one of the behavior analysts. So I work at the high school.
Okay. Silvani did an excellent job introducing this presentation to you. I just want to reiterate, this is the basic. We are going to be addressing all of the tiers.
Do we know that, is Inglewood connected? Can
Yes.
you hear us, Inglewood? All right, we got some arms up. I think we need to stay
I'll
close
stay
to
close.
we're going cyber, you know, we're broadcasting to other buildings as we present to you. So we're trying to manage getting 13 buildings all done. So just,
Yes. All right. This here is, everybody's familiar with the tiers from RTI. This is the tiers of behavior. And this is important for us to look at because tier 1 is about 80% of our students. Tier 1 are the interventions or targets that the whole class or the whole school, they're your typical teaching expectations. And typically 80% of your students should be able to manage their behaviors based on your general classroom management. Then we have tier 2, which is about 15%. And that's the kids who are more at risk. Those are the kids who need a sticker chart, who might be to help to manage some of their behaviors, or might need more frequent check-ins or something a little above and beyond the typical classroom management procedures that you have in place. And then there's the tier 3. Now, even though that's only 5% of the population, it oftentimes feels like that is the only population in your class. And we recognize that. Tier 3 interventions focus on the individualized, intensive, function-based assessments and positive behavior supports. Those are the kids that we're coming in to do the FBAs for, okay? And we completely recognize that right now you guys are thinking, we just want the interventions for that. We just want the interventions for those ones that 5% that's consuming 80% of your time, right? But in order for us to truly effectively give you all of those strategies and to get to that point, we are starting at the very foundational groundwork of procedures and pacing today, okay? Please recognize that when we first developed this training, that this was a full day training. And what we are doing is taking tier 1, which is just a third of that, and now we are breaking that down into 3 sections. So we are literally getting just 20 minutes into a training. So by the end of today, again, we're kind of just reinforcing a lot of those things that you guys have done or maybe have kind of gotten away from, and we will build upon this over all of the upcoming trainings. So today, as I said, we'll be talking about pacing, procedures, and routines. So pacing, students expect that high level of stimulation. If you think about kids today versus even not that long ago, think of what they do outside of school. They're constantly being stimulated between 600 different activities, between how many different electronic devices that are in front of their face, between everything else. The way that society is moving, they expect that high level of stimulation. And for that reason, we have to kind of compete with that, and we need to keep that high level of expectation. We need to avoid downtime, wait time, and transitions. Have a procedure or routine for what to do next. Always have something that they have to do. Never have the sit down and wait time. And I know it seems like this is just one more thing to plan for, but efficient planning and making sure that there's always some task that every student is responsible for doing will significantly decrease the amount of problem behavior that you would see in your classroom. Consider using an I'm done or now what folder. I know a lot of people do use those now, and I think the most difficult part is keeping them up to date so that there's always something there and ready for the students. Identify a whole class assignment that can be worked on independently at different rates so students always have something, again, that they can be working on. Procedures and routines. When we get called in to do FBAs, I think this is where we see a lot of the breakdown. A lot of times we think, oh, I have all my procedures and routines. I review it the first week of school. We're good. I've moved on. This is where a lot of times we see that we all kind of stray away from them. We need to bring them back in line with all of those. Make sure you have a routine for lunch lines, for bathroom use, for nurse visits, passing out and collecting materials, for transitions in and outside of the classroom, for missing homework, absences, walking in the hall, practicing emergency drills ahead of the drills occurring, teaching and getting called away from instruction, missing class due to lessons or related services, putting things away, even just organizing your desk and putting things away there, signaling for a signal for asking questions, a routine for substitutes or guests when you get called to the door, special events and assemblies, as simple as throwing things away or a pencil sharpener. I know these all seem very basic. Again, a lot of times when we're going into classrooms or we're reviewing some of the data that's being sent to us, it's these little things that are causing some of those behaviors. The students constantly getting up to sharpen their pencil. The students constantly getting up to throw something away. They're kind of put procedures in place for everything. So there is that explicit expectation. Sue's going to jump in and review some various examples.
Okay, so we took some pictures because we do know these things are in place, throughout the district. So we took some pictures, in our travels of some examples. And I'm sure you guys have many of your own. And if you have a good one that you really want to brag about, please email one of us your system, because we could upload it to the inclusion toolkit that, when the day comes and you're looking for an idea for, some problem that you're going to target, it could be something that you reference, all right? What I also like to say is, if there's any time of the day when you are pulling your hair out or you're feeling the need for an alcoholic beverage, it may be a time of day when you may need to think about adding a Tier 1 intervention in place. Because if you're feeling frustrated, your students are likely frustrated, and a way to kind of decrease that is to create a procedure around that time of day. So I know that for each of you that might be a little different, but I like to identify those things, like to make your day go smoother, your students' day go smoother. Is there a piece that you could add? All right. So some examples here. On the left, it's just a job chart, and the students' names are on the clothespins. In the middle, the stop and go to help students identify what door to open. And some of these are pulled from the middle school, so I know they may not apply so directly to you guys, like the cell phone zone free during science class. This is a big problem in the managing in the upper levels. Restroom and drink procedures. If you guys are, for those of you in upper grade levels that are departmentalized and, students switch classes and see multiple teachers, do you guys have common procedures across your classrooms, or do you have individualized procedures? Do those students know what they are? I've gone in classrooms and everybody has a different bathroom procedure. Teachers say, well, they should know by now. Well, they might know by now if it was consistent, but it's not consistent. So they learn each teacher's procedures. And so they need to know what your expectations are. On the left here, fire drill rules, which is really critical. In the middle is dress code. It's pictures with some examples of what is and is not appropriate. And then on the right, the posting of class rules. On the left, again, the classroom rules and with little visuals, which is fun. The ones on the right were taken from a ISS classroom, so they're a little bit more extreme than what we usually see. Talking none, that's, you know, pretty extreme. So I'll skip right over that. On the left here, for those of you who are departmentalized, one idea used is a bathroom pass, where students have so many within a marking period, and once they use them up, they've used them up, and then any saved passes can be used for extra credit, bonus points, that kind of thing, to try to help the student to better manage that frequency of leaving the classroom. And then the right are just the procedures and expectations for you know, different activities. The one on the left here, the reminder, the teacher dismisses the class, not the bell. You know, that may be this teacher's rule, but if that student internalized that and applied that across every class they went to, the bell might ring and they'd be still sitting there waiting, you know, for the teacher to dismiss them, you know. So again, you know, everybody's procedures are a little different. On the right, the nurse's office hours. This is the back of a seat. So it kind of has the expectations listed on the back of the chair. So if you were sitting, you'd be able to see what, you know, that on the chair in front of you. So it might be a fun little way to give the students a reminder about those expectations. Okay, on the left, the class expectations regarding respect. I like the little Jar Jar Binks at the bottom there, raise your hand. And the big six, you know, some expectations there, student processes. All right, there's on the left here, classroom rules, and you can see the whole class signed them. So they created the rules together and they all signed in commitment that those were the rules that they were gonna follow. In the middle is a stoplight. Again, the clips where that could go up and down depending on the student's behavior, where green is good, yellow is having some trouble, red is in some heat. So it could be a visual that you use. The Walton Farm mission statement is right there on the right. iPad rules. You know, you might assume that a student would know the expectations for dealing with an iPad, but do they really? You know, so you know, what a student's expectations related to use of electronics at home is certainly going to be different to what you expect here. So setting those expectations is important. Okay, this is, you know, more visuals. It's hard to see. It's the white ones have the class rules. One idea here, this was in an art class, the one on the right, where that line was students who wanted to show the teacher work. So he put the line that's where he expects them to line up. He sits on his throne in the red, and, you know, and the students, you know, work through it. Writing checklists, listening to my whole body, listening with my whole body. And then, you know, different ways to help with transitions, transition song, 1, 2, 3, say repeat, like you know, there's certain phrases and songs that could help students to get in line. I don't know any of them being at the high school. I think if we sang those, we might get in trouble, but yeah. Okay, so key is to practice all procedures. You know, to put them in place is one thing. Some students need more practice than others, right? So they may, you know, have had it down in September, and by this point in the school year, and with Thanksgiving break having just happened, okay, now I've really forgotten what your transition procedure is. So I'm now walking down the hallway like a nut. So how are you going to get in line? Maybe we do need to go back to the classroom and repeat it. Hey guys, let's remember, what is our transition plan, right? And to call your students out when they're trying to stretch your rules or procedures. So this is just, if for you know, supporting your use of the procedures, you want to call them out on it. You know, it's really helpful to have a visual. That way you could point to the spot on the visual that a student might be forgetting. Hey guys, let's remember that step 3 is to sit quietly, you know, so that it's not necessarily that you're calling a student out directly or that you're embarrassing a student, but that you're able to redirect real easily through the use of a visual. The example I like to use is I tend to speed, drive too fast, you know, because I'm not called on it very consistently. I sometimes receive a ticket. I sometimes get pulled over, but not always. And honestly, I get away with it the majority of the time. So therefore, I continue that behavior, right? But I never speed in certain areas where I have been pulled over in the past, or where I know I frequently see cop cars, right? So that's when I keep it in line. Now, to be honest, I don't need to be pulled over to stop my speeding. If there was a cop standing by a speed limit sign pointing to the speed limit, I'd get it under control, right? So it doesn't always need to be a major consequence in order to affect behavior. But sometimes, you know, we all need to just have those reminders and gentle reminders about what the procedures are. You know, sometimes it does require a police officer coming to my window and saying, "Excuse me, Mrs. Ahart, we need to remind you that the speed limit around here is actually 55, right? So just keep in mind, if you have a procedure you really want students to follow, you need to make sure that you're calling them out when they're not complying. So redirect students consistently to avoid the strengthening of that problem behavior. All right, so do you have anything else to add, Christy? Okay, so like I said, we wanted to keep our training short and sweet because we know that you guys have a lot to move on to. We do want questions. So here at Gwen Nor, if you have questions, please write them down on the cards. We have a question, what's it called, Trina? We're at today's meet. We're taking all questions and then we'll respond to all questions. So Inglewood, if you have questions, if you could get them in on today's meet, we will respond. And please remember, this is 20 minutes of a whole day training. So York is, are they there?
Yeah,
York Ave, we don't see you, but if you're there, awesome. They hear us, that's awesome. So York Ave, if you're there and have questions, please, you know, get them on today's meet. We would love to hear your feedback and to answer any questions. But keep in mind, this is a 20-minute bit. We have a lot more to deliver. So, you know, we'll you know, gladly answer any questions that come up. So we thank you for your time. Have a fabulous day.
And I want to thank them so much for the presentation.